Hello, so I'm going to be doing a video on this pistol crossbow today. So a big thank you first of all to Yuval, which is your mother, the name you'll probably know him more likely by. In the YouTube videos he supports my channel, he supports Mike's channel, so obviously I'm really pleased about that, so big thank you to him. And he gave me a load of money towards a pistol crossbow of my choice. So I went for this one because I've always wanted to get the Armex Tron, but when I actually wanted to get it, it was out of stock. So this is basically the Armex Tron. Now, this is the second attempt at doing this video. The reason is, I think about 2 weeks ago, I had one of these arrive, and the plastic in it was really flawed, and the plastic broke, making the crossbow, unusable. Merlin Archery were very good at replacing it for me. I just had to send it off prepaid to them, and then they sent me this replacement out. But I'll show you when I put this one together what the problem was. So first, let's get the box open and pull it out. So here we go, here is the crossbow itself. Now, what the problem was with the previous one is here is the bit where basically the crossbow joins up the prod attaches, right? So you tighten that and the prod attaches. This bit had obviously some bubbles in the plastic here, so the force of the prod being on there caused that to snap. That could have been very dangerous if that happened, when the crossbow was in operation. Thankfully it broke during assembly, because obviously I dread to think what might happen if you were cocking a crossbow and that bit of plastic snapped then. You could have quite a dangerous misfire, or something like that. So, that's that. Now interestingly, they advertise this Skorpion as £50 as opposed to £80 like a lot of the crossbows, although I think it's the same prod, so they're probably just being more honest and understating the power of it, because we'll see if we can find a way to do a draw weight test. But I think when Mike, Weapon Collector, he's done these tests before, I think he found a lot of these are about the sort of £60 to £70 draw weight region, rather than £80 draw weight. I think it was only the Horizon Redback that came, closest to the £80. But these certainly have more draw weight than the old sort of £50 or £80 pistol crossbows that were definitely, not, certainly not £80. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deviate a bit from the instructions when I build this to do something a bit safer. So when we put this together, basically this bit on the stirrup goes under there, basically. And what I'm going to do is actually assemble it, so once I put the prod in, I'm going to tighten it ever so slightly, and then I'm going to assemble all this before tightening the prod up more. The reason being, puts less strain on that bit of plastic. So if there is a slight flaw in that plastic, it's not going to break like the last time. Because with the last one I didn't over tighten it, but obviously a bit like the Tron, that is a bit of a design flaw, because with most pistol crossbows you get them unstrung. This one comes strung. You put it through unstrung, you tighten it in and then you string it, and it's supported on both sides. With this one it's pre-strung, so basically what you do is sort of that. That's upside down, but yeah, you'd basically just do that and then you tighten it up. So I'm not going to do all of it on camera, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the initial bit of tightening that's a bit fiddly, and then once the sort of beginning bit of assembly is done, I can show you how I'm going to do it to put it together in a safer way. Okay, so what I've done now, I've basically put this in with its little nuts to keep it in place. That's the bit the bottom of the prod connects to. Sorry, not the prod, that's the prod, the stirrup. But what I'm going to do now is tighten this a little bit more. Obviously you don't over tighten these with these, but the point is now this is at least secured top and bottom, as opposed to where the instructions tell you to start tightening it and it's only that little bit that holds it in. So I want to be careful and obviously not to over tighten this, but you still need it obviously to be tight enough that it's not going to move about. Now I think that's quite secure. This one definitely tightened up better than the previous one did, as in you didn't have to tighten it very much, for it to feel pretty snug. The previous one was a bit dodgy, so I think, yeah, the plastic might have been a bit warped straight out of the box. So there you can see that's secured on both sides, so I've not obviously got any of the other bits on yet, like the foregrip and all that, but this is actually assembled like that. So now what we've got to do is, we don't need to use a stringing aid thankfully on this one, because that's all been pre-assembled. So we'll put the iron sights on. There's a front and back iron sight. So we'll put those on, which I've got there, and we'll put this on. So again, I'll cut the video off here because it's just going to be a bit of me playing about deciding where I want these, and these are pretty easy to put on, as you can see, and it's always hard to do it in frame. But this is simply a case of just, you know, putting these on with the correct nuts or washers, whatever you want to call it, at the grip, the distance you want. I would always recommend with these using the foregrip, the reason being that this keeps your fingers far away from the string. If you don't know, a crossbow string hitting your fingers or thumb is not good for you. With a pistol crossbow, you might be lucky, you might just lose your nail and get some really nasty bruises. Worst case, probably a broken finger. A lot of rifle crossbows can literally amputate your finger because of the power behind the string. So to avoid like holding it like that, where your fingers could be in the way of the string, the foregrip keeps your hand completely away from that. So anyway, I'll put this together and then we can have another look at it. Right, I've run into a problem with this one. It's not something that would make the crossbow unusable, so I'll keep it, but it is a bit of a quality control problem. So the stirrup attaches via 2 screws to the bottom there. Screws with a sort of Allen key washer on. For some reason, one of these screws does not go in. I don't know why. One of them went in absolutely fine and tightened up. This one, I don't know if you can see, just literally won't tighten up in there. I'll take the stirrup off and put it back on and then report back. But the screw looks fine, so I don't know, did they just not do the screw bit in there properly? I don't know, because that one's gone in fine, as you can probably see. That one, you know, doesn't really tighten up anymore, but this one just isn't tightening at all. So yeah, I'm going to have a look at that and then see if I can figure out why that's being a pain. Right, this is very frustrating. So here's the problem, I think. There's a washer missing from inside there. It's probably that one that's loose in the packet. However, I've literally disassembled everything I can in the crossbow, and this will not come off now. It's sort of wedged in place. So that means I'm going to have to reassemble the crossbow without the right parts in it. I'm basically not going to be able to use the stirrup on this, I think, is basically the thing to take away from this. Because obviously it might be possible to prise the plastic off there, but seeing as the last one broke from just tightening a screw on it, I really don't want to risk that. So I'm going to reassemble everything, but I can't put the prod on. So bear in mind, if you're assembling these, what I would probably recommend is, despite what the instructions say, probably getting this bit put on the prod to begin with, these 2 bits put together before putting that bit together. So basically the instructions are completely out of order on this thing, because there's so many bits where if you do it in one order like they tell you to, if something doesn't work, then, you know, you're screwed. Because like I said, to get this bit apart now, I don't want to risk prizing it apart, so I'm just going to have to use it without the prod. So that's annoying. Right, I'm just going to reassemble everything as best I can, and then, you know, we'll be doing the shooting on a future video. But as I said, this is quite an irritating crossbow, because I'm assuming it's just the Tron with less quality control on all the parts. Right, that's it fully assembled, obviously, minus this bit, because I can't attach it securely, and I don't want to risk this like ripping a bit off or, you know, coming loose during cocking. So to cock this, I'll simply have to always do that, which I don't think is going to be too difficult, we'll see. But, you know, obviously I'm not going to cock it indoors. So, general thoughts about this, obviously, before I do a shooting video with it. I like the overall design of this crossbow, as in, you know, because it's very similar to the Horizon Redback, just with a bit more of a retro, sort of compact pulling cock system, which I don't mind. Saying that, though, this bit gets a bit in the way of that cocking system. You probably can't see it very well there, but I assume that's to stop it going any further forwards, but also at the same time, that's sort of in the way of your hand there. It's a bit silly. One thing I really don't like the look of, and I don't know if this is going to show up on camera, but underneath there is a little hole in the plastic, which again makes me think there might be stressor sort of weak parts on the plastic there. So there's that. The iron sight was quite flimsy to get on as well. So basically the problem is with this crossbow, I like the concept of it, but it feels like it's kind of been cheapened in a few ways that might make it a bit sort of dodgy, if that makes sense. Now, the foregrip, I think this is the same one as on the Horizon Redback and that, but that's a bit too small for my hand, and I don't even have particularly big hands, as you can probably see. Yeah, it'll keep my hand away from the string, but that's quite uncomfortable to use. Really, I'd need a vertical pistol grip style one. Because this is a regular 20mm rail, if I end up using this crossbow enough, I'd probably buy like a proper rifle style pistol grip. not pistol grip, sorry, like a foregrip for it, you know, so I can have one that you hold like that, just because it'd be more comfortable. As for the sights, obviously, you can't really shoulder this crossbow at all. I mean, it's not got a stock, so you wouldn't really expect that. Obviously, you can't pull this out and use it as a stock, because then that would, you know, block the string. So you'd have to basically hold it like that, like a pistol, or just in one hand like a pistol, which is fine, it is a pistol crossbow. But I do prefer the ones where you've obviously got the option of using something like a stock. Whether or not it would be possible to fit like a folding stock onto this somehow, I don't know. Like, you know, because there's a lot of people who do DIY sort of projects with these crossbows. So overall, the prod is going to be absolutely fine, because the prod seems to be very similar to what's on the Redback and some of the others. But unfortunately, as much as I like this folding stirrup sort of design they had, the washer or whatever was missing in that bit, and then I couldn't get it on because I didn't think to check all the actual washers were in place before I started assembling it, because it's not something you really think you have to do. So I think this is the sort of crossbow that you'd probably get on better with if you had a red dot sight on it, because I did like the Redback a lot more of the red dot, because it meant your eye could focus if you had it close in or further away from you. What is nice is at least the front sight does have sort of a bit of fibre on it or whatever that's quite visible in the dark. Obviously it's not tritium or anything like that, but it's quite nice just to get a bit of sort of glow in the dark fibre. I'm assuming it's meant to go round that way, like that, so you can see the bigger line of it while you're aiming. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but, you know, either way, it works. Obviously the rear sight doesn't have anything that glows in the dark on it, or is more visible in dark conditions, so there's that. It's got the safety features that the Redback had, sort of the anti-dry fire mechanism, not that you should rely on one of those. And obviously, as I said, even with a small foregrip, I prefer having that there because it does keep your hand well clear of that rail, which is an important factor. Sorry, I know this video is a bit awkward to view, it always is trying to show these things. But yeah, so I'll be doing a future video with this, obviously, where I actually do the shooting of it, and a big thank you again to your mother for, you know, giving me a donation towards it. And obviously thanks to Merlin Archery as well for pretty promptly sorting out the problem with the other one. But I do get the impression from these that the quality control on them isn't the best. Now, if you could get, for example, for £10 to £15 more, the Horizon Redback, I'd trust that a lot more. The annoying thing is some of this frame seems quite sturdy. It just seems that there's a few pressure points, I guess, where there's, you know, the tolerances aren't brilliant, and therefore you're having too much stress on sort of too flimsy parts. But yeah, I'd definitely say if I was to build another one of these, assemble the stirrup to this bit first, so you can check that all goes together. Then, once you've got the bow in loosely like I did, assemble that bit there, and then you're not going to have stress on any of the parts that shouldn't be there, like that. But yeah, so as you can see, the foregrip is definitely too small for my hand. I have to hold it like that. But overall, yeah, it seems like it'll be alright. I'd say this is still probably better than a lot of the older, cheaper, you know, pistol crossbows. But it's just be warned, you know, how good some of the plastic and screws are in this, I really don't know. We're going to have to see how it holds up in use. There is at least some included, you know, string lube, and there's 3 bolts included there. So there's that. But as I said, it won't be today I do the shooting of it.